On the morning of June 14, 2025, at exactly 9:23 a.m., what began as a routine freedom of navigation patrol in the tense waters of the South China Sea quickly spiraled into something far more dangerous. The USS Princeton, a guided missile cruiser, was gliding through international waters when her spy radar lit up, detecting a sudden, aggressive movement. A Chinese Type 052D destroyer, which had been idle over 200 kilometers away, suddenly roared to life, accelerating from 18 to 30 knots in just 90 seconds. What the Princeton's crew didn't yet know was that the Chinese captain had received a direct order from Beijing: intercept the Americans and drive them out. But Beijing was about to be reminded of a hard truth: challenging the U.S. Navy is a gamble nations often regret. In the area sailed the Nimitz Carrier Strike Group, a mobile fortress of American sea power. Their mission was straightforward: keep global trade routes open, ensuring commerce, China's included, flowed freely. They were deep in international waters, 180 nautical miles from the nearest Chinese shore, guarding a corridor through which $3.4 trillion in trade passes every year. The professionalism of the Americans stood in stark contrast to Beijing's posturing. The USS Princeton's radar operators quickly confirmed the incoming ship's identity: armed and closing in fast. With 122 vertical launch cells at the ready, the Princeton could erase the threat in moments. But instead of escalating, the Americans chose calm precision. The destroyer would enter weapons range in 17 minutes. China was confident, but they were walking toward a fight they couldn't win. By 9:29 a.m., the Princeton's captain had been briefed on the destroyer's aggressive approach. He didn't flinch. With the quiet confidence of someone who's been here before, he simply smirked and said, "Let's see how badly they want to embarrass themselves." Around them, 46 merchant ships, tankers, LNG carriers, semiconductor cargo vessels, sailed under the Navy's shield. China's move wasn't just bold, it was reckless. They seemed to believe intimidation might work. They forgot the U.S. Navy hasn't lost a surface battle in over 100 years. The tension deepened at 9:35 a.m. An E-2D Hawkeye, circling high above, spotted multiple J-15 fighters scrambling from the Chinese carrier Shandong. But their ski-jump takeoffs burned fuel fast, limiting range and combat time. Meanwhile, Princeton's sonar team detected another player, a Type 039 submarine creeping 80 nautical miles away. It wasn't stealthy, its noisy signature rang through the water like a freight train. In real combat, it wouldn't have survived long enough to fire. Chinese hardware was outdated, their tactics sloppy. Their destroyers lacked modern upgrades, their carrier aircraft were underpowered, their submarines too loud. The Americans, on the other hand, shifted like a single organism. The Nimitz adjusted flight ops, destroyers moved into layered defensive positions, and the strike group synced in real time through cooperative engagement systems. The Chinese were now inside a kill box. The airspace became an electronic storm. EA-18G Growlers launched, their jamming pods turning Chinese radar into a mess of ghost contacts. American fighters appeared, vanished, and multiplied on enemy screens. U.S. jets took a tiered formation, sealing off every escape route. Aboard an RC-135 rivet joint, American linguists monitored Chinese pilots' desperate calls for engagement clearance. The U.S. was already 3 steps ahead. Then came a flashpoint. At 9:47 a.m., the Chinese destroyer locked fire control radar onto the USS Nimitz, like pointing a loaded weapon. On the Princeton, firing solutions were locked in. For 30 seconds, the Americans held their fire, offering a chance to back down, knowing full well they could reduce the ship to wreckage in seconds. Above, AJ-15 tried to flank an American Super Hornet. The U.S. pilot, a Top Gun graduate, rolled into perfect firing position, lock achieved, but finger off the trigger. That's not weakness. That's mastery. At 9:51 a.m., the Chinese submarine made a fatal blunder, raising its snorkel to recharge batteries, revealing its exact location. The Princeton sonar team had tracked it for over an hour. In combat, it would have been destroyed in under 15 seconds. By early afternoon, China's forces were cornered, the destroyer to the west, submarine to the southwest, and carrier to the northwest, surrounded. Then came the hammer blow. At 2:30 p.m., the Nimitz launched 48 aircraft in a roaring display of power. The sky vibrated with Super Hornets and Growlers while Chinese radar was smothered in jamming clouds. But the real psychological strike came from below. A U.S. Virginia-class submarine, undetected for 8 days, surfaced just 6 nautical miles from the Shandong. For 90 seconds it lingered on the surface, close enough for every Chinese sailor to see, then slipped beneath the waves again. The message was unmistakable: we own this ocean. Low on fuel, low on morale, the Chinese fighters withdrew by 4:23 p.m., retreating to the carrier under the pretense of completed exercises. But everyone knew the truth. China came to intimidate and left humiliated. The South China Sea had spoken. This was not Beijing's domain. It was America's 6th Great Lake.